Hello, I'm Becca Williams. It's great to have you with us today for our latest edition of Marijuana Straight Talk. Coming up, the best of what we could find for you. For starters, there's this little guy, Canary, a personal app that helps you figure out whether you're too high to drive. Cannabis in your animal? What's the lowdown on puffing smoke in the direction of your furry friend to settle them down? Our cannabis culture maven Leland Rucker imagines a marijuana medicine commercial, plus one of my favorite features and one that's turning out to be yours too, I understand. Artistic Say, introducing activist artists who are stepping up to express their sentiments on marijuana, and in this instance, Jamaican ganja.
Music a bubble, steam as a bubble, bunch chalice a bubble, from morning to dark, and the fire upon the forward just a blaze up.
That, along with other culture pieces that are informing our understanding of this controversial and complicated plant. We're so glad you're with us, uprooting the stigmas and stereotypes of cannabis and the people who partake of it.
The medical cannabis provider never go away.
Our first story is introducing you to Canary, a new app that will gauge whether you're just fine to get in your car and drive home or not so much. Our smart activist friends at NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, are promoting this app as an accurate and easy way to measure impairment, as in, are you too stoned to drive? Here's how it works. You download it on your iPhone or iPad device, and it's going to measure and record how good your reactions are, your balance, your memory, and your perception of time. NORML's executive director, Alan St. Pierre, says, quote, Canary is the first app to provide consumers with the scientific information they need to accurately evaluate their performance privately, anytime and anywhere. End quote. You can perform the Canary tests in about 2 minutes, and the results are immediately analyzed to determine your performance level. Canary's developer says it's based on thousands of studies looking at the impact of cannabis on cognitive and psychomotor functioning. Of course, it'll also measure impairment due to alcohol, medication, and fatigue. Being tired can certainly wipe out your awareness. But for NORML, it's all about the marijuana because they're eager to clear up any perceptions that legalizing cannabis could impact traffic safety. And hence, a device like this allows intelligent, thoughtful people, that's you and me, to police ourselves when we're thinking about getting behind the wheel after a big night of blazing. The first 500 downloads are free, and then after that, the app will cost $5, and a percentage of each sale, they say, will go to support responsible consumption initiatives at NORML. And important to know, Canary pledges to not share your private information. We have a special opportunity today to get some first-person insight about something that usually stays in the closet. People don't want to talk about it, and that's addiction to cannabis. Where's that fine line between partaking responsibly and realizing it's running our life? Remember, we can abuse anything: food, sugar, alcohol, coffee, shopping, gambling, sex, and marijuana is no different. Ingrid is visiting us today because she discovered that about herself and has stepped up in this very public way to share her experience. And we're just going to stick with your first name to maintain your privacy. Ingrid, I know that this was a tough decision for you to come on and be with us. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm really grateful to be here.
When did you realize that there was an issue around cannabis?
I was working about 60 hours a week, and so I was really stressed. And I wasn't able to make it through the day without cannabis. And I was planning my whole day and my whole life around how I was going to get high. And at one point I was in a spiritual development and just realized, what am I doing? I'm not enjoying this anymore.
And so it actually was it was progressive, that you were doing it and then you realized eventually as it was unfolding that the bushes were parted and you went in and looked and said, this is no fun anymore.
Yeah, I wasn't enjoying smoking. I wasn't enjoying doing it socially. I was doing it mainly by myself. And I was using it medically, so I was justifying it through, I'm using this for medical reasons, I'm using this for medical reasons. But when it kept getting more and more and more, and I wasn't getting the result, I wasn't feeling better, I had to take a look at what is this really doing for me.
And how much were you using?
I was using probably every 2 to 4 hours throughout the day, and then it became every 2 to 3 hours, and then it was about an hour later, I didn't feel anything anymore, and I was looking at the clock, waiting for the time, trying to figure out when I could use again. And it became to the point where I didn't even like the taste of it anymore. And it was, then I really had to take a look at myself and say, what is this doing for me? This isn't the real purpose of using medical marijuana, or recreational marijuana for that matter.
And so then when you made that decision, what'd you do?
I actually turned to Marijuana Anonymous. So I hadn't quit yet. I tried to start weaning down and using less, and I found the more I wanted to use less, the more I actually used. So I kind of was rebelling against myself. And in Marijuana Anonymous, I got to hear the stories of other people, and one day I just quit cold turkey, and I haven't used it all since.
And how were you led to Marijuana Anonymous?
I was led to Marijuana Anonymous through a friend of mine. She just said, you know, why don't you check out Marijuana Anonymous? And I thought, okay. And there was no meeting, so I went to a phone meeting.
Oh, yes.
And this woman reached out to me on the phone the night before the meeting and just shared her story, how she was trying to wean down. And after a week of going to meetings, she just quit. And her story was so inspirational to me that the next day I realized that I wanted to be clear-headed, and I wanted to make that decision right now, and that I didn't want to wait anymore. And so I quit that day, and was very grateful to have the support.
So you found the organization really the helpful jumping off point in order to stop.
Yeah, because a lot of people might say, well, cannabis isn't addicting. You know, it's not addicting. It's not physically addicting. But I actually had been on medical hash oil for a year, and getting off that, I had so many physical symptoms that it was a physical reaction. And so I was scared of the same thing happening from consuming flower, that I might, you know, have all these physical reactions and that my immune system might flare up. And I was really scared of not feeling well, because it's already hard to quit something you really love, and then not feeling well on top of it, it can be really daunting and scary. But I knew that I wanted to have a clear head, and I wanted to be more social, and marijuana had kind of made me kind of be more paranoid and isolated, and I realized I wanted to be back to my social butterfly. And so I just took the leap of faith and trusted that I could do it, and that people would still accept me even though I wasn't using marijuana. Because being a marijuana activist, being so ingrained in the marijuana community, there was a big fear that a lot of my friends wouldn't want to be around me if I didn't use marijuana. And I still support the medical benefits wholeheartedly, but not everybody would. I didn't think everyone would understand that if I wasn't consuming it anymore.
And we want to point out that you are and have been a marijuana activist, and you've actually worked in dispensaries, so you have been around the plant a lot. What are you finding about your circle of friends? Have you had to change them, or what's that look like?
Well, the ones that haven't accepted me, they're not my real friends, I've noticed.
Yeah.
But I've noticed a lot of people actually really are really grateful and happy, and especially people that really know a lot about marijuana understand, and they understand that it does, you know, chemically do things to your brain. So when you do overuse it, it can be, you know, not a healthy thing for you. So I've actually had a lot of support from people in the marijuana community, and so I was actually really surprised to know that I can still be a part of the marijuana community in the way that I want to. I don't have to partake to be a part of it. So that's been really a blessing.
And where do you stand with the plant now?
I think marijuana is an amazing plant for medical use, and I think it's awesome for adult recreational use in moderation. And with, especially with the regulations, I think it needs to be safe. So no chemicals, no pesticides, making sure it's being flushed. Those are some concerns of mine overall in general, whether I'm using or not. And so I feel like as long as we've got good, clean plants, that it's a great, great blessing and gift. It just needs to be executed and delivered in the right manner.
And if someone is asking themselves right now, I'm wondering if I have a problem, what might you say, or a question you might ask them?
I would probably ask them, do you enjoy using marijuana? Are you using marijuana to get through your day? Do you mainly use marijuana by yourself and plan your whole day around getting high and how you're going to get high again? And when you run out, do you find yourself getting extremely anxious and worrying about how you're going to get more? Those are things I just noticed about myself. It was, you know, if I was going to run out of marijuana, it was like, oh my gosh, where am I going to get it? I have to get it. I mean, I would cancel plans to go get marijuana or rearrange my whole day. And to me, if those are some things that you might want to take a look and say, you know, am I using this in a responsible way, or is it taking control of me?
Ingrid, thank you so much for sharing your experience and really able to offer this advice. So appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Becca.
Absolutely. When, if, cannabis ever gets to the point of being advertised on TV and radio, our cannabis culture maven Leland Rucker has an idea of how that might look. Here's Leland's take in one of our Marijuana Minutes.
Pharmaceutical drugs are endlessly touted on TV, along with their long list of side effects. It's Viagra for erectile dysfunction and Zoloft for depression and Lunestra to put you to sleep. Among those drugs, there are side effects from 4-hour-long erections to thoughts of suicide. The 4-hour-long erection would probably kill me anyway. I'm wondering what a commercial might look like promoting marijuana. Instant relief from chronic pain, headaches, anxiety, menstrual cramps, and feeling unsexy. Side effects may include euphoria, relaxation, laughing uncontrollably, having fun, a sense of well-being, friendly, talkative, upbeat, pleasant, ecstatic, content, joyful, peaceful, blissful. It's a documented fact that no one has ever overdosed on marijuana. A well-presented science-based website is O'Shaughnessy's, and you can find it at beyondthc.com. Educate yourself, read the literature, pro and con, be skeptical of everything, and most importantly, make up your own mind about marijuana. This one I've always wanted to do. I hate those pharmaceutical drug commercials. God, do I hate them.
All right, ready?
We're having a great time getting to know you, our viewers, our cannabis community, as a result of this TV show and our YouTube channel, MJ Straight Talk. You know, because we've had to hide our relationship with this plant for so long, it's really fun to hear about how cannabis makes a difference in your life. And we're going to start doing some profiles on folks around the country. Of course, if you're in a state where you want to keep your full identity confidential, we're with you on that. Just your first name and state, or whatever else you're comfortable sharing. Today, I want to introduce you to marijuana fabric artist Jean Hanamoto. Jean and her husband George live in Northern California, actually what's known as the Emerald Triangle, which is the largest marijuana producing region in the U.S. You folks up there are way ahead of the curve. Jean started her cannabis designs in the early 90s when a friend was dying of AIDS, and she saw firsthand how helpful the plant was to his symptoms, and then even more inspired by the work of WHAM, the Women's Alliance for Medical Marijuana, that gives marijuana medicine away to patients who can't afford it, and then especially the illness of her husband George. With deep gratitude for the plant, she started creating her remarkable marijuana leaf designs. Let's hear from Jane.
I know this plant. I know this plant so well, up close and personal. It's totally ingrained in my life. I started off with photographs of my own that I'd taken at Wham Garden, and I had a lot of leaf shots, and I started doing it on purpose, finding interesting leaves and taking them, because all of my leaves are just really different. I don't just use one leaf and over again. I have all kinds of leaves with little imperfections and little spots and different shapes. Marijuana is really varied, way more varied than you'd think. And I love to take pictures of the leaves at the end of the season because they have more character. This is from the new leaves, and they're perfect. They're perfect little leaves, but later on they get more character. George is in a lot of pain, and if it wasn't for marijuana, he just wouldn't even, I don't think, want to live. He had glaucoma, and he couldn't take the medicine. This helps him so much. It helps him so much. And he loves the plant also. He's a farmer. He's got it in his blood. He loves growing it. He loves, having it for me. for my pain. He does this for me, and I do everything for him.
To get a look at Jean's cannabis creations, go to our website at kamamoto.com. She does sell them, and as she says, her cannabis creations are legal in all 50 states. Big thanks to photographer Chad Ray up there in the Emerald Triangle, who shot this interview with Jean for us. Out of the goodness of his heart, one of our citizen journalists. If you have some talents and skills to lend to our efforts here, let us know at comments@mjstraighttalk.com. If you're in a region where cannabis is still illegal and you're getting your product from the black market, this next segment may rankle you a little. In states where marijuana sales are legal, there are some particular issues that you may want to pay attention to. Larisa Bolivar, Executive Director of the Cannabis Consumers Coalition, has some guidance for us.
Do you know how your cannabis is grown? In this day and age of organic versus chemically grown produce and anti-GMO sentiments, a lot of us consumers are giving more attention to how our fruits and veggies are grown. Cannabis consumers deserve the same. Recently, multiple cannabis businesses in Colorado were forced to take their plants off the market for using unapproved pesticides. This led to people who use cannabis to question how safe their products are and whether they were really organic, as some had claimed. This takes us down a rabbit hole. Right now, we don't have organic standards for cannabis, and because the plant has been illegal for 80 years, we have very little research available on which pesticides are safe. For instance, many of the pesticides that were called out have been deemed safe for fruits and vegetables. However, we don't smoke fruits and vegetables. New standards are being created, but meantime, how can you ensure that the cannabis products you're consuming are safe? If you're in a state where marijuana is legal, our Cannabis Consumers Coalition suggests the following. Ask your bud tender how their products are grown. If they're unsure, ask the manager. For this reason, it's really important that you find a dispensary that you can trust. Check labeling. Depending on what state you're in, cannabis businesses may test for contaminants and list the results. Many labels list the fertilizers and pesticides used to grow the plants. This is why you might want to stick to dispensaries that test their products for contaminants. As an alternative, if you have a green thumb, grow your own. There are many portable units available that will fit in a small bedroom and can accommodate growing a few plants. As you can tell, there's still a lot of important questions to be answered. Our understanding of this plant's journey to you will become clearer as we get more research under our belts.
People from countries around the world include marijuana in their ceremonies and communal gatherings. And a prime example of this happens on the island of Jamaica, which is the home of today's artistic say performer and activist John 9. But before we play her music video called Steamers a Bubble, we've asked another native Jamaican, our friend Haya Sika, to help us understand what's going on in the video and decipher some of the Jamaican language that she uses. Everything's quite stylized with a special Jamaican spin. So here's some key thoughts Haya Sika has for us. Steamers a Bubble, the name of the song, refers to a traditional and cultural act of gathering together by the fire to steam or talk about social, socio-political, and spiritual matters. And they add the ceremonial use of ganja, which is what Jamaicans call cannabis. I'm sure that gets the conversation rolling. A steamer is a type of chalice, a smoking pipe. So the name of John 9's song, Steamers a Bubble, means the chalice is lit and is being passed around for those who want to partake in the societal ritual. There's a lot more interpretation that Haya Sika has for us about this video, especially John 9's lyrics. We'll post it on our website at mjstraighttalk.com. And meantime, we want to introduce you to one of the hottest up-and-coming artists in Jamaica who's getting noticed in this country too, John 9 with her ganja-infused song, Steamers a Bubble.
From morning to dark, and the fire upon the forward just a blaze up. In the yard, St. Andrew Park, music a bubble, steamers a bubble, bun chalice a bubble. From morning to dark, and the fire upon the forward just a blaze up. One thing to over about Jamaica, we are the confidence of the African continent. In our Central Park. Music a bubble, steam as a bubble, bun chalice a bubble from morning to dark, and the fire upon the forward just a blaze up in the yard. St. Andrew Park. Music a bubble, steam as a bubble, bun chalice a bubble from morning to dark, and the fire upon the forward just a blaze up. From generation to generation, the tradition of righteousness is passed on. From the ancients, setting a precedence of excellence. Ritual devotion to the mastery of the instrument. Strings with percussion and vocal nyabingi vibration. One to order the most high meditation with a high grade marijuana in the yard. St. Andrew Park. Music a bubble, steam as a bubble, bun chalice a bubble from morning to dark, and the fire upon the forward just a blaze up. The fire just a blaze up, burning out the evil, while the music free the people. Shake up when the consciousness wake up.
That was artist John 9 performing her high-style Steamers a Bubble. By the way, cannabis has long been part of the cultural scene in Jamaica, but only recently, earlier this year, Jamaica's government legalized the use of medical marijuana. And if you have a medical marijuana card, you're eligible for purchasing cannabis legally on the island while you're visiting there. And in regard to artistic say, if you are or know of an artist who has something to say about cannabis as it relates to our culture and would like to be considered for showcasing it here, please get in touch with us. And if you have one, give us a link to your work. This is a space for you to have your say. Just keep it clean and respectful. You can also weigh in on our YouTube channel at MJ Straight Talk, Twitter, and Facebook as well. Thanks. If you indulge in cannabis yourself and you have a dog or cat, you're probably wondering whether if it's good for you, is it good for your animal friend? Like Gracie here, my little old Jack Russell Terrier. She's now 15. The question is a three-parter, so I'm going to do 3 segments on this. And the first one today is about exposing your animal to marijuana smoke for health reasons. Is it an advisable approach? Should you do it? And then the second part will be what happens if your dog eats marijuana. You left it out or it ate something from the outside and it has a reaction. And the third segment will be on actually supplementing your animal with cannabis, whether it's in the form of a food or a tincture, for example. So first, the feasibility of puffing marijuana smoke in your animal's direction for the possibility of needing to calm down your little guy for some reason. Let's take Gracie. Even though she's old, she's in pretty good shape. As a nutritionist, I've been giving her some nutritional supplements that have kept her spry. She's blind in one eye, and we're treating her for low thyroid. The big deal is she's deathly afraid of thunderstorms. She trembles, she pants, she gets very anxious when the rumbling starts. It's something that's come up in the last couple of years, actually. I've tried Rescue Remedy, but it doesn't work. And we are wondering if blowing a puff of cannabis smoke her way might settle her down. In fact, our family tried this. One puff directly to her nose area, and she just settled right down and actually curled up and went to sleep. Now, that's my anecdotal story, and that's not going to get any traction in medical science or from any health provider. None, nada. And there are countless personal stories in the comment sections of websites about people blowing marijuana smoke in the direction of their dog, their cat, their snake, their bunny, and so on. Most of it is something to the effect of, when I light up, my animal comes over and gives me the sign that he wants me to blow smoke in his face, so I do it, and he really likes it. But bring this up to a veterinarian, you're going to get a finger wagged at you. Dr. Eric Brockus in the San Francisco area told me, quote, "Even if or when I do officially sign on to the concept of veterinary marijuana, I doubt that I will recommend blowing smoke in pets' faces due to their extremely sensitive lungs, noses, and eyes. And for the foreseeable future, I feel the same way about vaping." There you have it. That's the veterinary party line. It's a real catch-22 right now in this country. I mean, if you're in a state where cannabis is illegal to begin with, obviously you're not even supposed to be using it yourself, let alone blowing it in your pet's face. And even in the states where marijuana is legal, there's essentially no research on how animals respond to marijuana smoke. So we don't have research to hang our hat on. Every health practitioner who has a license, including myself, I'm a registered nutritionist, could be stripped of their credential if they were found recommending something like that, because proper studies have not been done. So where does that leave us? Well, I've covered alternative and holistic approaches to healing for a long time, and when a healing method seems to work but is illegal or not accepted by conventional medicine, it goes underground, and you have to decide for yourself. It's tricky. I mean, how potent is your stash? How big or small is your animal? And how often are you doing it? I think this would fall into the realm of folk medicine. And folk medicine, in its truest sense, is about non-professionals, lay people, using approaches mostly based on plant medicines. And it's a long, revered tradition. Thanks so much for joining us for one of our early editions of Marijuana Straight Talk. As you've seen, we're approaching the content of this show in a very different way. Since we're a national show, we want to reach out to as many activists in our cannabis community as possible. So what you're seeing in these shows is a crazy quilt of segments, kind of a YouTube TV hybrid. In fact, while you're at it, join us on our YouTube channel, MJ Straight Talk, as well. And if you have thoughts or suggestions on this show, a video or artistic endeavor you'd like to share, please send them to the contact info listed here. And until we meet again, be happy and well.